India will host the virtual Voice of Global South Summit tomorrow and day after. 120 countries are expected to be part of the summit. The ideas and the views from the summit will find their way to the G20 summit under India's presidency this year. From climate change to climate justice, issues like food, fuel and fertilizer crisis that have emerged because of the Ukraine war will all be up for discussion. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe are expected to participate in the summit virtually. Let me now go across to our guests who are joining us here on the show. Veena Sikri, India's former High Commissioner to Bangladesh and former diplomat, is here with us. We are expecting Narendra Taneja, energy expert, also to be with us shortly. Veena Sikri, my first question, ma'am, is why was another initiative necessary for channeling the voice of the Global South? Many believe that there are overlapping fora like the NAM that could have been used for this.
I think that this point about India's presidency of the G20 is a very important one for the Indian government, and they are pulling out all the stops. They're doing everything to make the G20 presidency year of India a success. The success is going to be based on India's role as a bridge between the North and the South. And yes, there are many fora. India is a member of so many smaller fora, and there is NAM as well. But a focused consultation with the South on the issues which the G20 is going to take up in the next 12 months. This was considered very important. Otherwise, the consultation could not be taken as just another ordinary consultation, but a focused one, focused on the outcomes that the G20 presidency of India could look at and could work towards. So the structure of this virtual global summit has been very carefully planned for that. You have the inaugural session and the closing session where the Prime Minister will be chairing and will be speaking, and there'll be heads of government and state from other countries. You just mentioned Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. And in addition, there will be focus sessions with the ministerial participation from countries, over 120 countries, maybe 20 in each session. And these will focus on the areas that are going to be very important for the G20, which is finance, foreign affairs, energy, education, health, trade and commerce. And these are going to be the very vital areas that are going to determine the role, the future economic prosperity of the South countries. And they want this consultation with the North so that the North and South can be partners in overcoming the economic problems. That 2023 is being spoken of as a year of recession for many countries. So there is a great deal of concern in many countries, and all the countries of the Global South are not going to be there in the G20 meetings. Only a few are going to be there.
Yes.
So this is a very valuable, focused consultation, and I think that we are looking forward to the success of these consultations.
Veena Sikri, is India in a unique position only now because of the G20 presidency to be able to be a voice for the Global South? Or is this going to be taken forward because India aspires also to be a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council? Do you think all these efforts will help in that direction to be able to channel the voice of these developing countries on global platforms?
Yeah, I think certainly it's a very, very big pointer in that direction, because the confidence of the Global South, of the South countries in India's leadership and India's effectiveness in being their voice in the wider circles of the world, among the G7, and even in the Security Council. We have just concluded our membership of the UN Security Council for a 2-year term, which ended in December. So this has already been a very successful 2-year term, and there's been a great deal of concrete progress on issues like terrorism, energy, and the collective voice of economic development for the South. This virtual summit will only strengthen that process. Okay. And India's bridging role between the North and the South will come out very effectively. This global summit is going to play a big role in focusing that role, because the documentation that comes out of this virtual global summit will be the manifesto of the South for the North. It will be the manifesto, it will be what the countries of the South want, and India can then take it forward with confidence because it has consulted these countries in a focused way.
All right. Veena Sikri, do stay on with us. Let me also go across to Narendra Taneja, who's on the line with us. Narendra Taneja, critical issues like energy crisis, climate justice, these are issues that the rich countries are well aware of. Taking these issues back to them via Global South Summit, how helpful do you think it will be?
Oh, tremendous. If you recall the Prime Minister, speech at G7 summit in Germany in July, I mean, there he spoke on behalf of the entire global south. And you just have to get the feedback from countries in Africa, Latin America, and across Asia, the kind of response India received. In fact, many of these countries have been urging India to lead. If you look at today in the global south, India perhaps is the only country that has the right size of the economy and right credentials to speak on behalf of the entire global south, barring a few countries here and there for different reasons. I mean, the entire global south is now with India. And if you look at, for instance, the Bali summit or even, for instance, SCO summit in Samarkand, I mean, India's voice was not only about India. It was about the, all developing countries. That said, at the same time, look at the situation today: climate crisis, energy crisis. They're two sides of the same coin. So, I mean, in an emerging economy, they want energy security. At the same time, they want climate security. While the North wants their focus is mainly climate security. I mean, they are not really ready to accommodate concerns of many countries, including India, as far as this debate is concerned. So, I think it's important, the right time when there are dialogues within the global south, and strengthen the voice of the global south so that we can basically, face the global north, especially on issues like climate finance, for instance, energy prices, supply disruptions, and Europe trying to build energy fortress concerned only about 1.30 billion people or the global north, completely forget about 6.70 billion, in the global south. So I think this is the beginning of a new process. And you will see the results of that in the coming year. There is the need of the hour if you are really look at the issue.
All right. Narendra Taneja and Veena Sikri, both of you, many thanks for joining us here on the show.